here we are at the Shoulder Saver class. Thanks for joining us. I'm Laura with Yoga Tonic, and I hope that your shoulders are doing okay. Hopefully by the end of this class you're going to be doing a little bit better. For those of us that are yogis with a regular practice, shoulders tend to get a lot of overuse and possibly misuse and abuse, especially if you're doing a lot of vinyasa, plank to chaturanga, up dog, down dog. If you're doing a lot of arm balancing, a lot of weight bearing, we tend to not really focus on what we're using in the shoulder, and that can cause a lot of problems. A lot of us rely a lot on the little tiny muscles, the rotator cuff guys, and they really can't do the job as effectively as some of the larger muscles, and so we end up with rotator cuff problems, and I'm sure many of you watching have it. I know I have tendinitis in my left shoulder. And there are a lot of issues that we have from overuse, from athletics, from poor posture, from sitting at a computer all day. So if you're slouching like this, right, you've got this internal rotation in the shoulder, and these muscles at the front of the shoulder are going to start getting smaller because we're not stretching them. They're always in this position. So they get shorter and they get tighter. And then we do something really seemingly innocent, like going to grab for something, and we get tendinitis, or we get bursitis, or we, hopefully it doesn't happen, but we may get a tear in our rotator cuff. And so a lot of this is just from overuse. And so if we learn proper ways to stretch into the shoulder, stretch into the chest, and to engage our back a little bit more, then it's not going to be as much of a problem. So, having said all that, let's go ahead and start with just some basics. So go ahead and sit or stand. It doesn't matter to me, but I want you to be able to sit upright or stand upright. I'm going to do this when I stand. For a lot of us, this is our normal posture. This really isn't very good for any part of our body. We're trying to have the shoulders stacked over the hips and the crown of the head stacked over the shoulder, so it's a straight line. Now, if you're standing, you also want to stack over the heels. And so that when we stand, the inner crease of our elbow should be pointing forward. If you're in this posture, an internal rotation, you can see how the inner crease of my elbow starts to point in a little bit more. So we start to do a little bit more like this. Bodybuilders, you see this a lot, right? You see this normal walking pattern, which we make fun of a lot when we're in the studio. But we want the elbows to be more pointing straight forward or straight back. So once you've got that, then something really simple, interlace the fingers behind your back. Now notice that when I interlaced my fingers behind my back, my shoulders popped forward. I did an internal rotation without meaning to. So I need to put my shoulders back. Now you can keep the elbows bent. I'm just going to lift my arms up. I don't want to overarch the lower back. My mom used to call this overarching beach walk. Right, having grown up in South Florida, I developed quite the beach walk. So we don't want this. So we're pulling the floating ribs, the bottom ribs back, lifting the arms, keeping the neck neutral. And go ahead and squeeze the shoulder blades towards each other a little bit. And relax. So we're just going to do that 2 more times. Lifting the arms as much as I can without letting the shoulders pop forward. And relax. And one more time. Anytime that I'm at the computer for any length of time, I try to do this. Unwind. From here, I want to loosen up the shoulders a little bit more. We're going into windmills and possibly a figure 8. If you've never done windmills before, they're interesting. We're trying to take our arms going in opposite directions. So I've got right now, my left arm is in a freestyle stroke, my right arm is in a back stroke. And if you've never done this before, it's really challenging. For those of you who just can't figure out how I started doing that, you can also start bringing the arms into circles like this, and then just start opening it up. Kate, you got it?
Yep.
Okay, Neil, can you get this? I can't
I'm
see.
not sure I've got it. I'm a swimmer too, so
It's challenging. Kate, go ahead and switch the directions. If you
I
can't,
already did.
oh, fabulous. If you can't figure out how to get them going in opposite directions, go reverse butterfly is a great one to do, but don't let your chest move. It's not, we're not
I think I got it.
okay. Or you can do a reverse back, I guess it's not a reverse backstroke, a backstroke. You can tell I'm not a swimmer.
No, I got it now.
All right, go ahead and relax the arms. If you couldn't get that, don't listen to me on this next one. But if you were all right with that, we're going into figure eights, which is incredible for the shoulder, but it is a little challenging to figure it out. So in a figure eight, I'm going to make, let's see, a figure eight. Okay, it's weird, I know. Now, when I'm doing this, I want you to imagine that you've got something in your hand. So I've got my ball in my hand. This is not why we needed the balls, but I've got the ball in my hand. The reason I've got the ball in my hand is because otherwise I would end up just doing with the wrist. And we want to do this with the shoulder. A little bit more challenging, I know. Kate, can you get this one?
So we're just drawing it in front of us? Drawing a figure eight in front of us?
So I'm going, it's to the side. So let me see. So Kate, you're using your hand, your wrist a lot more than your shoulder.
I'm holding my ball.
Don't. All right. So I'm sorry. Don't hold your ball. Just place your ball in your hand.
Uh-huh.
If the ball doesn't fall, you're doing it great.
Oh. Wait, your hand is supposed to stay, like, face up?
Uh-huh.
Oh. That's different.
Yeah. And try the other side. So the right arm is my good arm, the left arm is my bad arm. And you can see that this one is not nearly as smooth.
Uh-huh. I may be making an ampersand. Is that okay?
You might be making an ampersand. This does look a little bit like an ampersand. So I will make this proclamation right here and right now. If you are a grammar geek, I will give you a free yoga class. Just because I love the grammar geek so much. So ideally, we should be able to do this on both arms at the same time, and we can go in different directions as well. So we were probably going in a direction with that figure eight, right? We want to be able to go in both directions, which is a little bit harder. So now, if you're still watching and you're thinking, oh my God, this woman, what the heck am I signing up for? The more we move our muscles in different ways, the more we engage different muscles. And so this shoulder doesn't function independently of the rest of the body. We're trying to open that shoulder joint up. We're trying to get more range of motion into it. So even if you can't get this figure eight and you're doing something but you're like, I know this isn't what you want me to do, but it's something, something's better than nothing. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and take a ball. We're going to take a ball to our trapezius. So the trapezius is the muscle up where your neck and your upper back connect. Okay. And we're going to take this ball to where a backpack strap would be if you were wearing a backpack, or where a sports bra would be if you were wearing a sports bra strap. We're going to lie down. So the balls that I have are my Yoga Tune-Up Massage Therapy balls. I use tennis balls. The jokes are absolutely endless. I know when you're using the balls. I know. Feel free to make them. We're not going to make them here today because we've made them already. Neil, you have, this is going to come out horribly. Neil, you have the larger balls.
Yes.
I'm doing shoulder.
There was no other way I could say it.
I can handle it.
You have a larger massage therapy ball, which
Yes.
is for different parts of the body. So this, you may not feel this as intensely because it's a more diffuse ball,
Okay.
but it still should be good. You're going to take the ball underneath that trapezius, and the arm is in a field goal position, my right arm. So I'm on the right side, my right arm is in field goal. And if I wanted to make this more intense, I could lift my bum off the ground. Oh my goodness. Now for a lot of folks, this is an incredibly tight spot. So if I were with you in person, I would check to see where your ball is to make sure it's in the right place. But let me ask you, does it feel intense?
Yes.
Yeah, then you're unfortunately in the right spot.
Yeah, me too.
Nothing too bad, Neil?
No, it's good. It feels like if somebody were squeezing it in a massage. So
Yeah.
it must be good.
So imagining that I'm on the ground so it's a little bit easier for you to see me if I'm up here. Taking this right arm, and if you can, reaching it overhead, we're trying to keep the hand and the elbow on the ground. They may not be anywhere near it. So all we're doing is trying to take that arm overhead, still in field goal. If you're okay with that, then you can start to take the entire body into a side fold. So I've got my ball underneath me. I've got my arm reaching overhead, and if I'm feeling okay with it, I start to take my body side folding towards the left. And breathing. Now for some of you, this is going to be so intense that you can't really move this right arm. And that's okay. You could just stay here and breathe. When it's really bad, sometimes I'll just stay here and kind of just rock side to side. You can also lift and lower your shoulder. On a scale of 1 to 10, I want you to rank how intense the sensation. You don't have to tell me. Go ahead and take the ball out, lie back, and notice if that feels any better. So that right side should feel a little bit better than the left side now. And let's switch to the other side. So I'm taking my ball now to the left side, left trapezius. So again, it's where a backpack strap would be or where a sports bra strap would be. And I bring my left arm into a field goal position. Now this is my tighter side, and my left hand and elbow today are not coming all the way down to the ground. That's how tight it is for me today. Which means that after class today, I'll be playing with my balls for a little while. I threw that one in for you, Kate.
Thank you.
All right, so if we're able, we can move a little bit up and down. We can do a little side to side because it's so intense for me. But if you're all right with it, you take that left arm. Oh, mama. Start going overhead. Again, if you want to make this more intense, lift the bum up. Keep breathing.
Oh my God.
So what I often tell my classes, please remember that everything that I'm doing here is done with love, that I'm not the one who made you tight. I'm the unfortunate person who has the job of showing you how tight you are and trying to help you lessen some of it. So a lot of our issues, our injuries, come from overuse and underuse or abuse of our muscles. And how tight this trapezius is, it shouldn't be this tight. So is this your tighter side or your looser side? On your scale of 1 to 10, where does this one rank? Is left tighter or looser? Kate?
Tighter.
Tighter. Neil, left looser or tighter?
Looser.
Looser. Which is your wonky shoulder?
The right.
Yeah, makes sense then.
Yeah.
So when I practice, or before I practice, I take my balls when I wake up in the morning, And first thing I do before I start practicing yoga is I roll my body out and I see where the tight spots are. So if I can get rid of some of that tightness, then when I go into a vinyasa, I can use the proper muscles. I don't have all that gripping. And because I've got Kate and Neil here, and they've been doing yoga for years and years and years. Neil's a teacher. Kate should be a teacher. Say my spiel. But the balls, we use the balls to help break up the fascia. Okay, and fascia is this protective webbing that wraps around stuff in our bodies, in this case the muscles. And the fascia's job is to hold things together. And so all it does is pull things together. The more you're still, the more it pulls together. So if you're sitting at the computer all day or driving all day like this, the fascia pulls together. What we're doing is loosening the fascia's grip on the muscle. Okay, so go ahead and take the ball out from underneath.
Oh my God.
I know, so tight. And Kate,
Good night now. Good night now.
before we did this, though, Kate, did you realize how tight your upper back was?
Oh my God, I know how my traps are.
Okay.
My traps are notoriously tight. Yeah, I knew.
Okay.
So I should do this all the time.
Okay. So now we're going to take the ball and we're going to go onto the chest. We're going to go underneath the collarbone. So here's your collarbone. Right? You feel the collarbone. We're going subclavicular. So we're going to go underneath the collarbone. We're going to go onto pec minor. Pec minor, the easiest way to describe it, side boob. And we're going onto the deltoid, onto the arm itself. Now, subclavicular and pec minor are tender. They're very tender spots. So we're not going to push very hard. Now, you can do this with a block on the ground, or you can do this against the wall. I prefer against the wall. And if it's incredibly tender for you, you just take the ball in your hand. So I'm just going to put the ball right here, right underneath my collarbone, and roll on my collar underneath my collarbone. So you can go against a wall. You would be leaning against the wall, and that's fine. And this one, you don't feel this nearly as much as you did the trapezius. And then, from here, bring the ball down, oh my, and go onto pec minor. Now you can also keep the ball where it is and move the arm, right? Because when you move the arm, you're moving the muscles underneath the ball. And I know you may not believe this right now, but for anybody with breathing issues, with asthma, this is incredible for that. You'll see why in a moment. And then go ahead and take that ball onto the arm itself. And this one actually feels nice. And I do this against the wall a lot. Okay. Go ahead and come off that. And go ahead and take a deep breath. Can you notice how you can get more breath into the left side, or whatever side you rolled on? Can you feel how you can kind of open that chest up a little bit more?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And notice how the arm just has more movement to it. So I can get a bigger range of motion. This arm, my right arm, feels like it's got a little gunk in it. Let's take the ball to the opposite side. So underneath the collarbone. Now, if you didn't have balls, you could just massage in with your thumb. Right? It wouldn't be as fabulous, but something is better than nothing. Also, if you don't have massage therapy balls, go to Target or Toys R Us or some kind of kids store and get kids bouncing balls, right? The balls bounce. We don't play with them to bounce, but any ball that's got a little bounce to it will work for this. Not as well as these, but you know, works. Go ahead and bring the ball towards pec minor. We're going side boob here. And for those of you who have practiced with me before, you know that anytime I practice, Maisie just lays on the couch. That's all the yoga she does. Notice if this side is a little bit more tender than the other. So, Kate, your left trapezius was tighter. Neil, your was tighter. Notice if it's the same on the front of the body. Let's take the ball to the arm, too. Okay. Go ahead and take the ball off. And let's take another deep breath. Notice if you can get a little bit more breath in, if it feels easier to breathe deeply. We moved that right arm, or that left arm, and it moved pretty freely. Now see how your right arm feels. And it should move a little bit more easily now as well. Yes? Okay.
Yeah, less noise when I move.
Oh my gosh, do you have creaky shoulders too?
Yeah.
So when I do my windmills, wait, that's not right. When I do my windmills, I'm always amazed at all the noise that goes on in the room. Oh my gosh, those shoulders are cracking and popping. So hopefully we lubricated them a little bit more, and we're all
Right.
So did we just have a cameo appearance?
Yeah, we did.
All right,
I'm a stick, easily clad John.
Okay, so
Welcome, ladies. You're welcome.
So when we're doing Gomukhasana, cow's face, you do this in a lot of yoga classes, right? Right arm reaches up, bends at the elbow, left arm wraps around, and we try to take our fingers. So go ahead and try this, and notice if you can take hold. Now, typically for righties, this is a much easier side. When you have an injury, all bets are off. Pull the right elbow in towards your head. Pull the left shoulder back. When most people pull the left shoulder back, they actually pull the elbow back and the shoulder tilts forward. So instead, I want you to focus on pushing the left arm, the forearm, against the back. Notice how that pulls the shoulder itself back. Now lean your head towards the left. Stretch into the right side of the neck. You can also always hold on to a strap here, or a towel, or your shirt. Kate, you always are able to get hold of your hands on both sides, yes?
Just this one. The other side is a joke. It's like 6 inches different than this one, range of motion wise. Yeah, I had an injury in my right shoulder for about a year, so.
All right, go ahead and unwind. So you're usually about 6 inches apart, you said?
Well, I can't really, but it kind of feels that way. So I always use a strap on the other side.
All right, well, let's see what happens on this other side. Reach your left arm up, bend at the elbow.
John, how far apart are my fingers?
5 inches.
5 inches are my fingers, he says. So.
So he's just saying that because we know that it was 6 inches before. Bring your left elbow in, pull your right shoulder back, and lean your head towards the right. Remember, we're pulling the right shoulder back. We're not pulling the elbow back. Lean your head towards the right. Stretch into the left side of the neck. Now, when you're stretching into the left side of the neck, you could lean your ear towards the shoulder. You could take the chin towards the shoulder. It's a different stretch. You could tuck the chin in towards the chest. They're all going to stretch different parts of the neck. And they're all good. Just depends on what you need. Keep breathing. Neil, with your wonky shoulders, is there a big difference on the two sides?
Yeah, actually on the right side I can reach and grasp, which is the injured side, but I can reach and grasp, and with the left shoulder I can just barely touch my fingers together.
Okay. is it a little bit better now than it normally is?
I don't know what you mean.
When we're doing it right now, are you a little bit, is it a little bit easier than when you normally do it?
On the right side it was. On the left side it's still a little bit,
Okay.
not much reach.
All right, so after rolling on the trapezius and subclavicular, pec minor, deltoids, we tend to have a little bit more openness. So typically, when we go into Gomukhasana, it's a little bit easier than if we just went into Gomukhasana cold.
Okay.
So see if there's any difference. So I'm looking to see if there's a difference, that's all.
Yeah.
Go ahead and unwind. And let's go ahead and take your strap or towel and come on up to standing. And we're going to floss our shoulder blades. Kate, this one is going to be a rough one for you, most likely.
I've done these. I love them, and they're hard.
They're hard for tight shoulders. We're not trying to cause any pain or discomfort to our shoulders. All we're doing is just trying to get a little bit more range of motion. So when we're doing this, I don't want you to go to a place of pain, which is easy to do with shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
We're standing nice and tall. I've got my shoulders over my hips. The crown of my head is over my shoulders. I'm holding onto my strap. I won't know how far apart my hands should be on the strap until I'm in this. Reach my arms up. I'm trying to keep my arms straight. You can see I'm widening my grip as I bring my arms back. I'm also trying to avoid the beach walk and not overarching my back. I'm just going back and forth. And you can feel that stretching into the chest. Keep going. If you don't come all the way down with your hands or with your arms, don't worry about it. If you're really tight when you're doing this front part is easy. It's when you get to about here it becomes difficult. So if you're really tight, this is where you stay. And you don't go any lower. You just go to here, and then you come back down. All we're doing is trying to increase the range of motion. My hyper-flexible yogis, I want you to be careful when you're doing this that you're not hyperextending the elbows.
I want to bend my elbows to get past that sticking point.
Yeah, right here.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're not going to go down. If you do, nothing bad's going to happen. The yoga police aren't going to come in. You're not going to damage the shoulder. And if you bend the elbows a little bit and it helps you to go a little bit deeper, I'm all for it.
Okay. And then actually I can get a little straighter the more I practice that. So.
Yeah. I love my windmills. Okay, go ahead and drop your strap. And just for fun, let's see if that helps at all. With your Gomukhasana. Gomukhasana is a great benchmark pose.
Am I closer?
See what's going on in your shoulders.
John says I'm closer now than 5 inches.
Fabulous.
Yay!
Telling the truth, though. And try it on the other side.
What did you try?
Also, something that I tell a lot of my clients, Gomukhasana cow's face is a great pose to do in the shower. Your muscles are a little bit looser because of the warmth of the shower. If you're washing your back, you've got a little sudsiness so that your hands slide on the back. And if you continue to do this, you gain mobility in the shoulder. You gain that range of motion, and that's what we're trying for. So after a couple of weeks of doing this in the shower, and you don't have to hold it for very long, while you're washing your back, just see if you can touch. See if you can touch on the other side. But within about 2 weeks, you start to see a noticeable difference in your cow's face. So everything that we've been doing has been to stretch and open up. I want to do something a little bit different now. It's something that helped me rehab my shoulder greatly. And it's bird wings. So I want to come closer so that you can see me a little bit better. going to take my elbows and pin my elbows against the front side of my belly. So I'm not going to the outside, I'm going to the front side of my belly. My pinkies are going to overlap. I don't know any way to say this except for pretend you're trying to make cleavage. Right? That's how much you're pinning your elbows against your belly. And even for guys, it's still the same thing. Pretend you're trying to make cleavage. Now you can see how the shoulders are kind of going internal. Pull the shoulders back. Pull the shoulders back. Keep the neck neutral. Keep the elbows absolutely pinned against the front of your belly. You shouldn't even be able to slide a piece of paper between them. Now, Kate, you have one shoulder that's tighter than the other?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Neil, you have one shoulder that's a little bit different than the other, as do I.
Yes.
Pull the shoulders back. Pin the elbows against the belly, front of the belly. Start to open the hands out. Oh my goodness, and then close the hands. Inhaling, opening. Exhaling, closing. Just going back and forth.
Where are we supposed to feel this, Laura?
I beg your pardon?
Where are we supposed to feel this?
All right, so Kate, come a little bit more forward so I can see your belly a little bit. So what's going on right now is you've got your hands out here, or your elbows out here. That's not where I want them. I want the elbows all the way.
Okay.
Pull the shoulders back, and then open. Neil, is this easy for you, or is it a little challenging? Pardon?
It's a little challenging.
Yeah, me too. So I do this often when I'm driving with one arm, can you tell? So that I can get the bad arm to do this a little bit more. It's incredibly fatiguing. And it's fatiguing for me in my shoulder and in my bicep. Each person is going to feel this in slightly different places, but you should feel a lot of engagement.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Kate, are you feeling more now that you moved your arms?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't sure if this was about stretching or strengthening. It feels like physically challenging, strengthening-wise.
It is.
That's what I mean. So yeah, I feel that.
So all we're doing is engaging these little tiny muscles and really making them work hard. The tendency people have is to do it more like this.
Which is easy.
It's so easy. I could do this all day. But that's not what we're trying for. We're trying to get a little bit more engagement. So it's a really good one to do for strengthening. Okay. Go ahead and come on down now. And let's come onto your hands and knees, please. We're going to go into turbo table. If you've done forest yoga before, you probably have practiced a turbo dog. Right?
Come on, John.
Pardon? So Anna's really big on turbo dog. I like turbo table. A lot of folks, especially folks with shoulder problems, don't have the strength for turbo dog. But turbo table is incredibly challenging. So we start off on our hands and knees, just like a regular table pose. And I want the knees to be underneath your hips. And that's really easy right now. In a moment, your bum is going to try to move back, and we don't want that to happen. Knees stay right underneath your hips. From table, we're going to widen the upper back. So it's like you're lifting the center of your shoulder blades up towards the sky. It's a little bit of a rounding of the back. From here, we draw the head of the humerus into the shoulder. So my arm bone is my humerus bone. Head of the humerus is the round part. And we're going to suck that in towards the shoulder. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about, just go ahead and watch first. There's the wide upper back, and there's the head of the humerus pulling into the shoulder. Now I'm bending my elbows, and I want to be careful that they're not splaying out to the sides.
My knees stay right underneath my hips. And how much I bend my elbows is completely up to me. You may or may not be able to see the shaking in my arms right now, because it's kind of challenging.
As I'm in it for a little while, though, I start to lose the aspects of the pose. So go ahead and relax for a moment.
We'll try it again. It's a wide upper back. And now if I just did a wide upper back, I wouldn't have the engagement from the front of the body. So then I pull the head of the humerus into the shoulders. If I just pulled the head of the humerus into the shoulders, you can see how I collapse my back. So I want both. Wide back, arms into the shoulders, bend the elbows, push down through the thumb and the index finger so you don't roll to the pinky. Keep widening the upper back. Pull the head of the humerus into the shoulders. Bend the elbows. Squeeze the arms towards each other. Keep breathing. And go ahead and relax.
We're going to do it one more time. This time, we're going to add the downward facing dog aspect to it. If it's too challenging, because again, we've got Kate and Neil here who are accomplished yogis, and they can probably hold down dog a lot longer than some of you who might be watching this, and that's absolutely fine. Turbo dog is a great option for downward facing dog, especially if you've got really tight hamstrings, if you have problems with your wrists, or if you just want something a little bit different. So we're going to go from turbo table into turbo dog. Feel free to stay in turbo table if that's better for you. So let me give you a side view. We start off in table pose, knees underneath the hips, wide upper back, arms into the shoulders, bend the elbows, squeeze the arms towards each other. Keep the knees and the hips lined up. Keep drawing the head of the humerus into the shoulders. So you can hang out here. If you want to go deeper in turbo table, you could bend the elbows more. Keep squeezing the arms towards each other. But if you're all right with it, tuck the toes under and lift up and back into down dog, turbo dog rather. And we still have the elbows bent. They may not bend as much as they were in turbo table, most likely. Wide back, arms into the shoulders. Breathe. One of the challenges with turbo dog is as soon as you bend your elbows, most people put all their weight into their arms. You're still pulling the bums up and back. So I'm making Neil and Kate hold this for quite a while. They might not be liking me very much. Come on down. And let's come into child's pose. Big toes together, knees apart. We're going to take a variation here. Bring your hands into prayer behind the head. For shoulder injured folks, this tends to feel a lot better than reaching the arms forward. If you want to get a little bit of a deeper stretch, keeping the hands in prayer behind your head, walk your elbows a little bit further forward. Breathe. Can you walk your elbows a little bit further forward? Unwind the arms and ease yourself up. Cool. All right, let's do something else for a little more strength. Go ahead and sit with the knees bent in front of you. Hands fingers pointing forward. Lift the chest and pull the shoulder blades slightly towards each other. From here, lift your bum. Now, for some of you who are a little bit tighter, just hanging out here and bending the elbows is intense. If you are tight through the chest, through the shoulders, this is enough. If you're going a little bit deeper, you can start to add some weight bearing by lifting the bum. But don't let the shoulders roll forward. Keep pulling the shoulders back and lift. Go ahead and come on back down. So we're just trying to get a little bit more openness. When we do a lot of vinyasa classes, or if we do a yoga class with a lot of vinyasa in it, we're doing a lot of push, and we're getting repetitive motions going on, and we want to change the motions. So the more we can pull, the better we are. This isn't a pull motion, but it's a push in the opposite direction. So again, if you're really tight, all you're doing is bending the elbows, leaning back a little bit. If you wanted, you could change the hand position. You could point the fingers away from you and try it from here. It's a bit more challenging. So Kate, Neil, whichever way you prefer to have your fingers pointing, feel free. And hyperflexible yogis don't lock the elbows. Pull the shoulder blades towards each other. When I do this for my practice, I try to do this for a minute, and I do it 3 or 4 times. Come back down. So again, if you're very tight, the bum stays on the ground. If you want to go a little bit deeper into it, you can always do it with the legs straight. Do you normally do this one with the legs straight or bent?
I do both. I show both to my classes, and then I do both. But it's good because I didn't think about pulling the shoulders back till just now.
Yeah, and so, a lot of times we do these poses that are strength and weight bearing, and the shoulder rotates internally.
Yeah.
And we don't get the engagement that we're looking for, so we're trying to keep that openness. Kate, I know you're probably always doing it with the legs straight, aren't you?
I mean, are you talking about Parsvottanasana and reverse table, or just the shoulder opener?
I am talking about that, yes.
But this one, just the shoulder opening thing, where you're keeping elbows bent and come together. I used to do a lot with Kim Wilcox, but she's not in Chicago anymore. We miss her, but as we miss you, Laura. Yeah, I do. But I actually like reverse table better than Parsvottanasana.
Me too.
It's the same shoulder yumminess, but I don't know, it feels more therapeutic or something.
Yeah, well, so when I teach it, and if I'm teaching an Ashtanga class, and I'm assuming, it might be an Ashtanga or an Ashtanga-inspired class that you're referring to, I do the legs straight, but when I do legs straight, I can't focus on the shoulders enough. Whereas if I bend the knees, I get really into the shoulders. Nothing else matters here. I shouldn't say nothing else matters. The shoulders are just saying me, 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 me.
Yeah, the straight leg version feels like it's really intense on the leg, and the bent knee version feels like it's all about shoulder yummy.
Yeah, so I love that one, or I love this for that reason. So if you wanted to really work on the shoulders, you could do the plank walkovers. And I got this from an acro yoga class, and I've never really seen it in a regular yoga class, but it's kind of fun. And in the acro yoga class, they start in plank, they go into a side plank, they come into a reverse plank. I go into a reverse table. Side plank, which is always interesting on a tiled floor. I'll start sliding in a moment. Into plank. They might vinyasa. And then they go back into the opposite direction. Plank. Side plank. I always keep the knees bent in this. I feel like it's too much movement to do a straight leg. For those of you who have trouble with side plank, the side plank is great for shoulder strength. Keep in mind, you can always bring the bottom knee down to the ground. Now, how much weight I put on this bottom leg will determine how much weight goes into my bottom arm. So if I take some weight off, more weight goes into the arm. I could also go with the top foot. This variation doesn't give me as much support. So those are some great ways to incorporate more strength into the shoulders. Let's start to unwind a little bit. Go ahead and come down. We can do this on our bellies on the ground. I actually prefer to do this on a wall. So let's find a wall. Let's see if we can stay stable. Stable is always good. So I'm holding on to the edge of the wall. My right arm is behind me. My right foot is forward. My legs are in a warrior one. And I turn my chest away from the wall. So imagine that there's a wall right here. I'm holding onto the wall. Notice that my elbow bends and it bends down. If my arm goes straight, notice how there's that internal rotation. Oh dear. So I've got good hands, it seems. I caught my computer in time. But when the arm goes straight, the shoulder internally rotates. Bend the elbow and get that openness. Now try to turn the chest away from the wall. Draw the shoulder blades slightly towards each other. Come on back up. Switch to the opposite side. So you can do this with your hand on a wall, but if you can hold onto something, the edge of a wall, a column, a chair, it's going to be a little bit deeper. So if you notice, when I go on this right side, how far back that right arm goes. The left side doesn't go back nearly as far. Try to open the chest, turn the chest away from that wall. When we start to have these imbalances in our body, this left side being so much tighter, I'm going to be more prone to injuries on this left side because of it. So we really need to start getting the body a little bit more balanced. Notice, for women, when you carry your purse, do you always carry it on the same arm? Guys with bags, computer bags, suitcases, if you travel a lot, notice what side you carry the bags on. If you're always carrying it on one side, you're always working a little bit differently on one side. Okay. Go ahead and unwind. Kate, was there a difference on the two sides?
There is, because I kind of injured my left clavicle front shoulder area rock climbing last year, so it's always more painful on my left when I do that pose.
Okay.
Yeah.
Neil, is it different on the two sides in the chest opener on the wall?
Yeah, it is a little bit. It's
Okay.
a little,
Right.
yeah, a little tighter on the injured side.
Yeah. And so what happens here, we get a little bit tighter on the injured side, and then we start babying the injured side a little bit more, and then we end up injuring the opposite side. Eastern philosophy calls that chasing the dragon. We don't fix the problem, we just move the symptom around. So you have to call that. All right. Go ahead and grab 2 balls, please. We're going to take both the balls to our upper back, one on each side of our spine. And then interlace the fingers behind your head. If you have long hair, please get all the hair scooped away from the balls. These balls do grip hair. If you want to make this a little bit more intense, lift the thumb, you'll put more weight into the balls. And then all we're doing is lifting our head and just turning sideways, side to side. A little side fold. You can also start to roll a little bit up and down the back. If you're worried about where the balls are, here's the good and the bad news. Your entire upper back is most likely tight. You're not going to do damage to any of the parts that you're rolling on. If it doesn't feel good to roll on a certain part of the body, don't. Roll on surrounding areas until you can loosen that area up. We don't want to cause pain. We're just trying to massage out the grip that the fascia has on the muscles. That's all we're trying to do. Now, while you're rolling, one of my favorite things to do is to take the arms and to move the arms, specifically reaching the arms across the body while I've got the balls underneath me. So when I reach the arms across, I call it the foam makeout. You know, when you were a little kid and you would do that little that session. So when you reach the arms across, you're moving the muscles underneath the balls. And to me, that is just absolute heaven. And when I say heaven, I mean intense.
You mean hell.
Yeah, I don't mean that at all.
I do.
Yeah, I know.
But in a good way.
It's you know, we're trying just to roll out, to massage out the tightness. And it's, again, I'm not the one who got you tight. I'm the one who has the unfortunate job of trying to help you get a little bit looser.
I don't know, Laura, them one-arm handstands, you know.
Yeah, listen, we're not talking about one-arm handstands here, okay? We're going to terrify people. Trust me, I will never have you do a one-arm handstand in a class that I'm not actually physically in.
Good.
All right. So go ahead. So that it should be feeling really fabulous. And if it's not, push down through your feet more. So if you push down through your feet, you'll take some of the weight off the back. If you want it to be more intense, then lift your bum. The more weight you put onto the balls, the more intense it'll be. So it's kind of up to you. Now, if this is too much for you, and it might be absolutely way too much, you might be thinking that I'm bonkers. Don't worry, I might be bonkers. You might be right. But if it's too intense, just take your balls and lean against a wall. Right? When you're standing against a wall, it's a lot less intense. And that might be what you need to start with. On days when, for those of you who don't know, I have fibromyalgia. And on days when the pain is really intense, I don't do a lot of the poses lying down because they are too intense. I'm too sensitive. I'll do them instead against a wall, and I can control the intensity a lot more. I can make it a lot less intense or more intense as I want it, whereas when you're lying down, you can't really have that flexibility, so to speak. All right. Okay, go ahead and take your balls out from underneath you, and let's get ready for Shavasana, final relaxation. The easiest and hardest of all yoga poses. Easy because all you're going to do is lie there. Hard because all you're going to do is lie there and try to be still. So go ahead and get comfortable. Roll the shoulders down the back. Your arms are about 45 degrees or so from the body, give or take, with your palms facing up towards the sky. Fingers relax. Body becoming still. Deep at the center of my being, there is an infinite well of love. And now allow that love to flow to the surface. It fills my mind, my heart, my body, my spirit, my consciousness, my very being. That love radiates out from me in all directions and returns to me multiplied. The more love I use and give, the more I have to give. The supply is endless. The use of love makes me feel good. It is an expression of my own inner joy. With every inhale, I draw love in, and I am nourished and nurtured by it. I'm bathed in it. With every exhale, I send love out into the world so that I am surrounded by love, enveloped by it. And everyone who comes into contact with me is touched by it, whether they or I realize it or not. Inhaling, drawing love in. Exhaling, sending love out into the world. Just continue with that for a few more breaths. Slowly begin to wiggle your toes and your fingers. Loosen your body. Draw the knees in towards the chest. You can hug the knees in close. You can rock from side to side. Roll over towards your right side. Push down through the arms and ease yourself up until you're sitting comfortable. May we find peace in what we see, speak, and feel. May peace flow from our hearts to the world. From the world, may we bring peace back to our hearts. And through our energy, our prana, may we help the entire world find peace. Namaste.
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 Thanks for coming. So I didn't say it at the beginning of class, and I'm sorry, I really should have. This class is not intended to take the place of any medical diagnosis. Please, if your shoulders are hurting, if you're having problems with your shoulders, please do seek medical care. If your shoulders are tight and you need to open them a little bit more, if you're having repetitive pain, this is the class for you. If you've graduated from physical therapy but you're not quite ready for your regular workout, this is the class for you. If your shoulders feel wonky, if you're worried that your shoulders might feel wonky, this is the class for you. Okay, it's not intended to take the place of medical advice. And please, if you see my attorney husband, tell him that I said it at the beginning of class and not at the end of class. All right? So thanks for joining us, and I hope to see you soon. And have a great day.